All right, let's do this. We're going to take a trip back in time, more than a century actually, to a world that looks almost nothing like ours. No smartphones, no internet, none of the tech we depend on every single second. We're going to walk through just one ordinary day from sunrise to sunset in the year 1905.
So just how different was it, really? Well, think about it like this. In 1905, your alarm clock was the sun. A text message? That was a letter, and you'd be lucky if it arrived in a few weeks. And your daily commute? Forget the car. You were probably walking. That contrast, that huge gap, is really the backdrop for this whole story. So let's start where their day started, the morning routine. This wasn't driven by apps and alarms, not at all. It was dictated by the simple, powerful rhythm of the sun rising in the sky.
Can you imagine waking up, not by flicking a switch, but by lighting an oil lamp, or just waiting for the first light of dawn to creep in? And breakfast wasn't some quick grab-and-go thing. It was simple, hearty fuel. We're talking porridge, maybe some bread. This wasn't about convenience. It was about getting enough calories to survive a long day of hard labor.
And for a lot of people, especially kids on farms, the days started with work. Instantly. There was absolutely no sleeping in. Before you even thought about school, you were outside feeding chickens, milking cows, or hauling these heavy buckets of water from an outdoor pump. Childhood was just different then. It was basically an apprenticeship for a life of physical work.
Okay, so now we're moving into the heart of the day. This is where life kind of split. Kids headed off to school, while the adults went to work for long, long hours.
You know, school back then was a world away from what we know today. Forget different classrooms for every grade. Most kids were crammed into a single room, with one teacher trying to teach everybody, from the little kids to the older ones, all at the same time. And just getting there was a mission, often a walk of several miles, rain or shine.
Now, for the adults, wow, the workday was just grueling. We're not talking about a 9 to 5. The standard was 10, even 12 hours of hard, physical labor.
And it wasn't just a 5-day week either. Nope, it was 6. The whole idea of a weekend as we know it just didn't really exist for most working folks. The pace was absolutely relentless.
So what kind of jobs were they doing? Well, in the cities, you had people powering the Industrial Revolution in these loud, often really dangerous factories and steel mills. Out in the countryside, farming was still king, but it was back-breaking work done with horses and hand tools, not tractors. I mean, this kind of work literally shaped people's bodies, and frankly, it shortened their lives.
And all this really gets to the heart of what life was like in 1905. The incredible amount of manual effort needed for everything. Without our modern tech, human power was the engine that made daily life run.
Let's really think about this for a second. We push buttons for everything. Light, heat, food, you name it. So what were the big things that were just absent from their homes? Let's run through a few of the game changers.
First up, no refrigerator. And that's not just a minor inconvenience. It completely dictated daily life. It meant you had to go to the market almost every day, food spoiled incredibly fast, and food poisoning was a constant, real danger.
Next, no washing machine. This turned laundry from a simple chore into wash day, an entire day of brutal physical labor, usually for the women of the house. We're talking boiling water, scrubbing clothes on a washboard, and wringing out these heavy, wet clothes by hand. Cooking wasn't just turning a knob. It meant you had to build and manage a fire in a wood or coal stove. That made the kitchen unbearably hot in the summer, and you had to be really skilled to keep the temperature just right. And finally, maybe the biggest shock to us today, no indoor plumbing in a lot of homes. Yeah, that meant a trip to an outhouse in all kinds of weather, day or night. And it meant hauling in every single drop of water you needed for cooking, cleaning, and bathing.
So if they didn't have a fridge, what did they use? This thing, the ice box. It was basically a wooden cabinet that you'd put a giant block of ice in. An iceman would actually deliver it to your house. It kept food cool, sure, but only for a little while. It was a constant race against nature.
And what's really fascinating here is how this highlights the sense of isolation. I mean, sure, telephones existed, but they were a luxury for the rich. For most people, if you wanted to talk to someone far away, you wrote a letter. And then you waited for days or even weeks. The world just felt so much bigger back then.
All right, let's move to the end of the day. As the sun went down, life just slowed way down with it. Without the constant glow of screens and bright lights everywhere, the evening became a time for quiet, a time for connection.
Entertainment wasn't something you just consumed, it was something you did.
Families would get together and read books out loud, play music, or just sit around telling stories. If you lived in a city, you could go out to a vaudeville show or see one of those amazing new inventions, silent movies. It was all very active, not passive.
So the rhythm of the evening was super simple, really predictable. It always started with the family having dinner together. That was followed by some quiet conversation, getting things ready for the next day, and then that was it. By 9 or 10 o'clock, with not much else to do in the dark, most houses were already quiet and everyone was asleep, resting up for another hard day.
So when you put all these pieces together, you get this really clear picture, right? Life in 1905 was incredibly tough physically, and it lacked all of our modern conveniences. But it was also simple and deeply, deeply built around family and the local community.
And that kind of leaves us with one last thing to think about. Our world is infinitely faster, right? It's more connected, more convenient in every way imaginable. But in gaining all of that speed, it makes you wonder, doesn't it? What parts of that simpler, slower, more communal way of life have we left behind?